Hey, it's Rachel with Journey Back Quilts, and today we're going to journey back to the basics. Today we're going to be making a 4-patch block, one at a time. Let's get started.
To make these 4 patches, we're going to need 2 dark fabrics and 2 light fabrics. These are cut at 2.5 inches square, and we're going to go to the sewing machine and put them together. So let's go over there. So I'm just going to sew a light square to a dark square at a 1/4 inch seam, matching up those raw edges. And if your fabric has a pattern on it, you'll want to put those right sides together. I'm using solids for mine. We're going to do the same thing to the other 2. This is one of the most simplest blocks to do. And I'm just chain piecing here, as you can see. I'm just sewing one right after the other. Okay, now that they're sewn together, let's go to the ironing board. I'm going to clip apart those connecting threads first. And now I want to iron these going towards the darker fabric. So I'm going to put the light fabric on the ironing board and let my iron hit the seam and press towards the dark fabric on both of these. And now I'm just going to rotate one of those, and we're going to put those together, nesting these seams. And nesting the seam means this seam here is going to bump right up to this seam here. So it kind of just hits right there on this side. There's a little bit of a ridge towards the darker side on each of these, so those ridges are going to connect right in the center. That is where we want to focus our attention more than focusing on lining up the raw edges on this side. This is how you get perfect points to your blocks. So I'm going to line up those seams, and you can feel when they are nested, it's pretty flat. If they're not nested, you'll feel some empty space or a big bump if it's in the wrong spot. Okay, now that those are nested and our raw edges are lined up this way, we can go sew a 1/4 inch seam down this side. Let's go to the sewing machine. Also notice I sewed it where the flap of my seam is going this way so that my foot doesn't accidentally hit it and lift it up. That will keep those seams nice and flat as well. Okay, back to the ironing board. Now we're going to spin our seams, which is one of my favorite ways to iron my seams when doing a block like this. So we're going to push this seam up and this seam down, going opposite of each other so that they kind of spin in a circle. It's like they're going in a pinwheel. This one's going towards the left, then this one goes down, then right and up and over. There might be a little stitch right here in the center that we can pop out so that it will lay flat, and that seam is not important. It's not going to hold anything together, and that way it will lay flat. And can you see right here in the center, there's this mini 4-patch. That's how you know you did it right. So I'm going to iron this one up, then hit that right in the middle and iron this one down. I'll also flip it over and make sure that it ironed all the way as if I was pushing it over from the top. Because sometimes when we iron from the back, it's easy for a piece of fabric just to fold over just a touch and iron flat. And then see how the block gets a little wonky? If the seam is flat, it will make it more square. So if your blocks are looking a little screwed up and a little wonky like that, just make sure that you're ironing all those seams really flat. And then you can see that cute little 4-patch. Okay, let's measure this, and it should be measuring 4.5 inches. So I'm going to put 2 1/4 right in the center, going both ways, and that's my center line. And then I can see that everything is lining up at 4.5 inches just perfectly. Ta-da! No squaring up needed. Great job making the 4-patch.
Hey, thanks so much for joining me today in making this 4-patch one at a time. I hope that this was helpful for you and that you're going to go try it yourself. If you'd like more tips, tricks, and tutorials, I invite you to join our society. In this membership, you'll get a library full of videos to help you on your quilting journey. Next week, we're going to be making 4 patches, many at a time. I'll see you then.